يا خالق الإنسان يا مبدع الأكوان بالجود والإحسان يا رب أكرمنا. يحيا بك القلب يسمو بك الحب لولاك يا رب لولاك ما كنا. أنت الذي يهدي يا رب للرشد إنا على العهد يا رب فاقبلنا. رحماك يا رحمن يا منزل القرآن بالأمن والإيمان والرشد ألهمنا. رحماك يا رحمن يا منزل القرآن بالأمن.
When a person gives the testimony of faith, and by the way, we renew our testimony of faith every time we make salat. Every time when you pronounce the tashahhud, you are renewing your testimony of faith. And every time you do that, you are testifying to have allegiance to Allah, to show allegiance to His book, show allegiance to the Prophet and the Muslims. And you are also testifying every time you pronounce that tashahhud to have enmity against whatever opposes those things. So whether you guys are aware of what you're saying or not, when you say ashhadu an la ilaha illallah huwa ashhadu anna muhammadur rasulullah, you are testifying all of this, that your allegiance will be to Allah, His book, the Prophet, and the Muslims, and also that you will have enmity against anything that opposes any of those things. And that can be your parents, it can be your co-workers, anyone or anything that stands between Allah and His religion, you oppose it. Okay? So thus when we pronounce whenever we pronounce the tashahhud and recite the shahada, understand that the shahada negates four things. Number one, when you say la ilaha illallah, you are negating that your hopes and fears to anything that can cause or benefit you. You know that only Allah can harm you. Only Allah can benefit you. And this is something that many of our Muslims struggle with. For example, last night before I went to work, Brother Elbain asked a question. He asked me about wearing pieces of the Quran. He asked me, should he keep a piece of the Quran with him at all times? And I asked him what for. He said to ward off evil. This is shirk. This is shirk. Understand, guys, you don't need a piece of the Quran. You don't need a lucky charm. You don't need a bracelet, a necklace. Nothing will harm you or benefit you unless Allah has decreed it. Okay? And when you take that shahada, when you make salat and recite the tashahhud, you are reaffirming this every day. And Allah speaks about this in the Quran. Allah says in the interpretation, the meaning, if Allah afflicts you with harm, there is no one who can remove it except Him. And if He desires good for you, there is no one who can repel His favor. Okay, what does this mean? If Allah has decreed for you to get in a car accident, just because you got a piece of Quran with you is not going to stop it from happening. If Allah has decreed for you to be in a car accident, just because you have a piece of the Quran hanging up in your car is not going to stop it. There have been many Muslims who were injured in car accidents and they had Ayatul Kursi hanging up on their car. The Ayatul Kursi did not protect them at all, did it? Okay? Because nothing can protect you from the decree of Allah. If you were to build a house made of the Quran, even that will not protect death from you. Okay? So whenever we pronounce the Shahada during the Tashahhud, we are saying that we are affirming that nothing can harm or benefit us other than Allah. Also, when you recite the Tashahhud and pronounce that Shahada, you are also saying whoever is worshipped and is pleased with it, or has claims of having qualities of divinities, they are a liar. In other words, no one, you are testifying that no one can have knowledge of the unseen except Allah. So if you're walking around thinking, for example, that somebody can tell your future, predict the future to you, then that means you have invalidated, your Shahada. You have invalidated your allegiance to Allah. Okay? Allah tells us in the Quran, in interpretation, the meaning, to every nation we sent prophets and messengers, excuse me, commanding to worship Allah alone and turn away from worshiping anything else. Okay? So, this is part of the testimony of faith. So when you are praying and you say, Attayatulillahi, when you get to that part, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu, okay? You're testifying again, you're reaffirming your faith, you're reaffirming that no one has knowledge of the future or the unseen except Allah. And also, when you recite that testimony of faith, you are also reaffirming that whatever draws a person away from obedience to Allah, whether it's your family, your children, your money, they become rivals to Allah. In other words, you are testifying that you're not going to allow your family, your children, your parents, your money to cause you to become so preoccupied with them that you neglect your duties to Allah. And Allah speaks about this. And this is what I was talking about yesterday with that woman here on the website. This woman who refuses to leave her husband. This woman is married to a Kafir man. As you guys know, there is no marriage between a Muslim woman and a non-Muslim man. Remember when I made the statement to you, Sister Maktub, that you have taken your man to be your God? Remember that? Sister Maktub, are you here? Remember when I tell you that the simple fact that you refuse to leave that Kafir man, that he's your God and you're going to be in hell with him? Here's my dalil. Allah tells us in the Quran, Maktub, in the interpretation, the meaning of mankind, there are those who take others besides Allah as rivals to Him, and they love them as they should love Allah. You hear that, Sister Maktub? Sister Maktub, type on the screen, because this is for you. Okay? Do you see that? This is what I mean when I say that your husband is your God, because you have made him a rival. You love him more than you do Allah, because Allah has told you that you cannot be with him anymore. The simple fact that that man does not believe in Allah, the simple fact that he has not declared Islam as his religion, makes him for you. But you refuse to leave him. You refuse to leave him because you think he's a good man and you love him so much. This is shirk. You have taken that man to be your God, and you have invalidated your shahada.